Season 4 of The Witcher is the most expensive one so far.
This is so surreal, I have to say.
But did all that money save the show? How badly did Cavill's replacement alienate the dedicated viewers? Or the introduction of beloved characters like Regis managed to silence the skeptical voices? Watch this video to learn where this season shines brighter than ever, and where it fails in ways even a Witcher couldn't fix. Let's go. The recast problem. Together with the spin-offs, the total spending on the Witcher franchise is approaching $1 billion. Season 4 cost $221 million, which is about $27 million per episode. But unfortunately, this hefty budget is hardly noticeable.
56% critic score, 17% audience score. Looks like they needed Henry after all.
The show doesn't look any better, bigger, or more epic. How did that happen? Let's start with the elephant in the room, the new Geralt. Henry Cavill stepped down from the role after the third season. As a true fan of Sapkowski's novels, he didn't like what they were doing with the series. So the studio had to look for a new lead, and this recast became one of the most talked about in recent years. The main question: did Liam Hemsworth manage to portray the titular character on the same level as Henry? The short answer: not quite. Why is that? Because the fourth season simply can't be separated from the first three. The viewers got used to Henry's performance, to the Witcher he was. They appreciated his coldness and restrained emotions hidden behind his warrior facade, and the depth of passion and sincerity he revealed when it came to Ciri and Yennefer. In the source material, Geralt is nearly a century old, and Cavill visually carried the weight and weary resignation of a seasoned Witcher. By contrast, a 7 years younger Hemsworth has a more smooth, conventionally handsome, and youthful appearance. A silver wig looks awkward on him, and the battle-hardened armor doesn't feel like a second skin either. But it's not just a costume issue.
But I felt like I could bring something to this character, and I felt like I had an interesting sort of take on this part of the journey.
Also, Liam often has a faint, almost unnoticeable smile on his calm face. It's just part of his natural expression. As a result, many viewers felt his portrayal lacked the quiet depth and raw intensity that Cavill's version had. Liam Hemsworth's version of Geralt was a soulless, lifeless, empty shell. On top of that, this season was supposed to show the hero's growth. Geralt becomes more open with his emotions, finally seeing Ciri as his daughter. He also embraces his love for Yennefer. That's shown in his dream where the three of them live together as a family. That evolution would have felt much more natural if Cavill had stayed in the role. Instead, it felt like not only the actor changed, but the Witcher himself. Viewers had to adjust, not just to a new face, but to a different version of the character. However, overall Season 4 wasn't as bad as many people claim.
And besides, liking a bad show is not a crime. I'm sorry, but I just can't seem to fire up the hate engines for this season.
There were actually quite a few enjoyable moments. The magical battles were impressive, especially the big fight between the mages. The fight choreography was well done, even if Hemsworth wasn't quite as convincing in those sequences as Cavill. Plus, the new cast members actually added depth and drama to the show. Impressive newcomers. Lawrence Fishburne did a fantastic job bringing Regis to life. He was wonderfully convincing as an ancient vampire, even though the costume and a wig got in the way a bit. Still, he absolutely had that commanding aura and thoughtful nature.
Are you sure there's nothing else around here waiting to go all bitey-bitey?
I assure you, I am the most frightening thing here.
However, those who have read the books did miss Regis's academic tone. The dialogues in the series felt flat and shortened. They missed the reflection and personal insights that gave the novel's conversations their characteristic depth. Anyway, Regis was great on screen, charming, mysterious, and easily the smartest one in Geralt's Hansa. But arguably, the best new cast member was Sharlto Copley as Leo Bonhart.
What the music? Boy.
The actor was excellent in the role, a near-perfect embodiment of the character from the books, perhaps even better. Bonhart is every bit as cruel and repulsive as he should be, with that same twisted sense of humor. He absolutely justifies the existence of Season 4 and genuinely makes the audience look forward to Season 5. The only downside was the killing of another Witcher, which is neither canon nor believable. The shift of focus. Season 4 seems to center less on Geralt and more around Ciri and Yennefer. In part, that follows the novels, but it probably aims more at distracting viewers from the new lead. And that only works halfway. The focus on Ciri and Yen is clear, but it makes the imbalance between the storylines too obvious. Anya Chalotra really carries this season.
Today we fight for our future!
Her character definitely evolves. Yennefer takes the lead, gathering everyone to oppose Vilgefortz. She essentially creates the lodge herself, which strays considerably from the source material. In the books, Yen's focus is entirely on saving Ciri. She isn't interested in uniting the mages. In fact, it's actually Francesca who brings Yennefer along on their first meeting, not the other way around, like in the show. She even joins them against her will. The lodge itself has a different purpose too. It's meant to seize power to strengthen magic, to lead rather than just advise the kings. Geralt's journey. When it comes to the 4th season as an adaptation, the die-hard fans have all the reasons to be unhappy, even more than before. The show basically took from the books only the names, locations, and Geralt and Ciri's travel routes. Everything else is either scrambled beyond recognition or completely rewritten. The dialogues are dull, and the journey itself feels meaningless. Yes, the characters don't know yet that Ciri isn't in Nilfgaard, but in the books that was revealed quickly by Cahir, so they only wander a little. In the show, it stretches across the whole season, until Yennefer finally reveals the truth. At least there were Regis and Zoltan, who had some cool moments, but they couldn't make up for the poor script choices.
I just write it. I don't have to live in these characters in the exact same way.
Their journey lacked real dynamics. Still, there were battles and action, but it often felt like they were thrown in just to tick the boxes. For example, the swamp crossing and the mermaid attack were kind of misplaced. Other monsters the Witcher has to fight also seem like last-minute additions. Visual details don't add to the experience either. Many locations look very plain and cheap, definitely not worth nearly $250 million. Ciri becomes Falca. Ciri's storyline and her joining the Rats also come from the books. She undergoes the most dramatic change, forced to do whatever it takes to survive, and her darkest side comes out.
Where's your bravado now, Huxburn? Stop screaming!
Please, we can make this right!
However, her character in the show becomes too harsh and more reckless than it should have been. Yes, she robs and has to kill, but in the novels, it doesn't consume her the way it does on screen. On the contrary, her romance with Missel was toned down in comparison with the books. The show's depiction appears to be a conscious effort to make it less overtly toxic. However, it's still presented as a complex, dark, and ultimately tragic relationship. Other deviations. Overall, Season 4 is a mix of 2 books, Blood of Elves and a bit of The Tower of the Swallow. Plus, there are a lot of inventions and strange interpretations by the writers and the showrunner. For example, the entire storyline with the other Witchers was invented specifically for the show and doesn't add any real meaning. In Sapkowski's original saga, Vesemir survives the events of the entire series. In the video game, he is killed by the Wild Hunt while defending Ciri at Kaer Morhen. That was a highly emotional moment and a catalyst for Ciri's next actions. But on the show, his death seems pointless. The Nilfgaard Emperor's storyline is also not faithful to the books. This season, Emir no longer comes across as a strong and incredibly clever emperor. It's not clear why he keeps the imposter near, as in the source materials he sends her away and throws all resources into finding the real princess. But the most significant character change made by the Netflix series was Radovid. They aged him up and made him a younger brother of King Vesemir instead of a 12-year-old king's son in the books. And that boy had no personal interaction with Jaskier at all. Speaking of the bard, the audience had mixed reactions to the musical number. Some enjoyed the novelty of seeing his story told through song and dance. One Redditor wrote, "Okay, seriously, this episode was great and solidifies that The Witcher is more akin to Xena than any prestige show people constantly try to align it with." The show's soundtrack continues to be praised, even amid overall criticism of the season. While I think we all agree on how horrible the show is, I am really curious on how others view the music of the show. I found both the soundtrack and Jaskier's songs surprisingly pleasing for what the show ended up being. So, while the series definitely fails as an adaptation, it still is totally watchable as a fantasy show. But one question remains. What's next? After the next season, which has already been filmed, the Netflix franchise should close completely.
Because we just wrapped season 5, and honestly, I'm just ready for the world to see it. So ready.
And that is probably for the better. Sadly, it had all the reasons for the huge success. Just stick to the original source and listen to the fans, whose voice on set was Henry Cavill. Instead, we have a show that's falling apart right before our eyes. Although there are quite a few positive, enjoyable moments here and there. What do you think about the new Witcher season? And what would you expect from the show's final chapter? Share your thoughts in the comments, and thanks for staying with Awesome Movies.